Hello friends, this is Tisha from Meadows and Mortar by Tisha, and I am here from the Paint Couture creative team on YouTube, and I'm going to show you how to do these little nutcrackers. So whenever you get these, you can buy these from Hobby Lobby. These are just blanks, and you can decorate them any way that you want. They were pretty affordable, so I bought 2 of them because I thought that it would be cute to have on either side of my TV stand. So the first thing that I'm doing is I'm grabbing Paint Couture's Pitch Black, and I'm just going to paint the top of their little noggins. This Pitch Black is so richly pigmented, and it is an absolutely beautiful deep black color. Typically, it doesn't take more than 1 coat to take care of the coverage issues, but sometimes you may have to use 2 coats. But I'm just going to be using 1 in this. Even though this is a raw wood and it's going to soak up inside of there, like I said, this is so deeply pigmented, you're not going to need more than 1 coat for this particular project. I'm just using a little artist brush, and you can see that I'm just dabbing some of the paint out of the top of the lid there because a little goes a long way with this. You really don't have to use a whole big bunch of it, even on raw wood where it's soaking it up, because like I said, Paint Couture's colors are very, very pigmented. Now I'm just trying to decide where I want my black at. So I'm going to use it on the arms, on his noggin, around his little belt there. There's a little strip around his legs. There's really no right or wrong way to do this. So I'm going to use Cozy Beige for his face. I'm going to use Stardust for the legs, and I'm going to use Antique Gold for parts of the crown. These are all, even though I'm going to be using some of these metallic colors, like I said, Paint Couture is very richly pigmented and they cover very, very nicely. Now, if you were to have to use 2 coats on any of these colors, I would say that you would have to use them on the metallics, but as you can see, I just did 1 coat and it turned out beautifully. Now I'm going to come in with some opal green on the vest here. This is a nice, pretty Christmassy green color, and I just thought that this would be beautiful for the Christmas season, for the holiday season, whatever you celebrate. Because green is one of those colors, this color of green is, you know, no matter what holiday you celebrate, this seems to be a staple color, especially for the winter season. So you'll see that I'm going back and forth in between the chalk paints and the acrylic paints, and that's completely fine on a project like this. You can mix them and match them, it doesn't really matter. This isn't going to be something like a piece of furniture that you're going to be having your hands on all the time, so it doesn't matter if you seal it at the end or not. This is just a decorative nutcracker piece. And I do want to show you while he's laying down there, do you see how I painted the inside, like the bottom part of the actual part that squeezes the nuts in there? So just make sure that whenever you're doing nutcrackers like this, that you flip them upside down and you see any areas that you might not see if it's standing straight up. Because if this is going to be up on a shelf or something and you're using the nutcracker part, then you want to make sure that it's all painted on the inside and the outside so that it doesn't look unfinished. Now, if you're not a green person, red would also be an awesome color to use during the Christmas season. That would be beautiful on this nutcracker. Or even if you wanted to, you could use some stencils on here, or you could cut up some tiny little transfers to put on here. I had actually thought about putting some transfers on here after I got done painting it, but then I looked at it and I was like, you know what, it's perfect the way it is. So I didn't end up putting any sort of embellishments like that on there, but you absolutely could. These can be personalized any way that you like, just whatever your little heart desires. And I just want to take a moment to say thank you for watching this video. If you're not already following Paint Couture Paint on YouTube and Facebook and all of the socials, go ahead and give them a follow. And if you're not following me, I'm Meadows and Mortar by Tisha. I would also love to have you around. I am on YouTube and I am on Facebook. I also have a TikTok, but I'm very rarely on there. I'm just not that cool. I'm a little too old for that. And I don't know if you've noticed it or not, but if I screw up and I get a little paint in the wrong section, it's not that big of a deal. I usually wait about 20 or 30 minutes, and then I come in with a smaller artist brush and I just do those little touch-ups. But if you were doing colors that you felt like you needed to do 2 coats on, then you could come back in with that second coat and use, you know, a steadier hand. I'm not that particular about it because this is going in my home. This isn't something that I'm going to be selling in my shop. But I do think that it still comes out good, even though I'm freehanding everything. But just keep in mind, if you screw it up, it's not a big deal, guys. It's only paint. You can go back and touch it back up. As you can see, I'm using that same Christmassy green color for the base of it, and then I'm going to come back in just a second and zhuzh that part up a little bit. But I thought that this would just blend nicely to continue that green on down into the base, but you could absolutely do whatever you wanted to do. Now inside, in between his feet there, you see that I am having to come in with a smaller little artist brush because my big fat one right there won't fit through. But I usually keep out 3 or 4 different sizes of artist brushes whenever I'm doing small little projects like this. And don't think that you have to use big expensive artist brushes. I just get random packs of them and use whatever I have on hand. Now I'm going to come in with Paint Couture's Perfect Pigments and their pigment medium, and I'm just going to take just a tiny little bit of the pigments and then I'm going to mix it in with the medium, and then you just stir them up together and it's going to make us a nice beautiful shimmery color. The great thing about these is you control how deep you're wanting your pigment to be. So if you're wanting it to be opaque, then you can mix it accordingly. If you want to be able to see completely through it, then you mix it accordingly. So I'm just using just a little plastic spoon there, and I used a tiny little bit on the end of that popsicle stick of the pigments, and then I'm just going to take and mix them together. And if I don't think that it's strong enough, then I can add some more of the pigments in there. That's the beauty of these. So if you're wanting something that is just like a little shimmer overlay, mix less of the pigments. If you're wanting something to be completely saturated, mix more of the pigments. And these give a beautiful shimmer. Now, I have used them both ways. I have used them just as like a little bit of an overlay, and then I've also used them to completely cover stuff up, and I like them both ways. Now this one, I left it a little more see-through because I wanted to be able to see that black underneath there. If I were to have like a red underneath here, this color would be completely different because whenever I mixed my pigments together, I didn't mix as many pigments through as I would if I wanted it to be completely opaque. And if you know me, you know that I love shimmer and shine. I am a girly girl through and through, unless it comes to like farm stuff, because I do love me some chickens too. But I love the way that this shimmer just added some contrast on here. And there is no rhyme or reason to this. I'm just looking at it, eyeballing it, deciding where I want a little bit of shimmer to go, and then I'm going for it. And like I said, if you don't like it, it's just paint. You can go back over it, guys. It's not the end of the world. The fun thing about Paint Couture paint is that these products all work well together. So if you don't like it, you can use more of their products to paint over it. They're all going to be compatible with one another. You don't have to worry about screwing it up. I always say it's just paint, guys, and you can decide what you like and what you don't like. And these fun little projects like this, these little craft projects, are a good way to explore with the paints and decide what you like and what you don't like to work with. You don't have to tackle something big like a big furniture project your very first time to figure out what products that you prefer to work with. And that is what's so fun about this. You can add your own personalization, and you can really get to explore with these small projects like this. And as I was adding on the Silver Galaxy, I just added it to a little more trim pieces, and then afterwards I was like, you know what, I want a little more shimmer in a little bit of a different shade. So then I pulled out my Perfect Pigments again, and I used the pigment medium and I used the bronze color, and then I just mix it together the same way that I did the Silver Galaxy, and it was sort of see-through but not completely see-through. And then I'm just going to take it and I'm going to use that around my edges at the bottom. I just love the different variations of shimmer that I'm getting throughout this. And this really gives it more of like a professional feel. It looks more like it's a platform on here whenever I just add that bronze around the bottom of the piece. And I thought that it was just a beautiful finishing touch on here. And then the very last thing that I do is I want to add just some little rosy cheeks to it. So I come in with French Rose, which is just a pale pink. I put a tiny little bit on an artist brush and I'm just dabbing it on his little cheeks. And this is not something that you have to do, but I thought that it just added a nice little feature to it because most nutcrackers that you see do have those rosy little cheeks to it. But I didn't want a stark red on there. I thought that the pink was just a nice little pop. And here are my final little nutcrackers, and I just love the way that they turned out. And go to Hobby Lobby and grab you some blanks, play around with the Paint Couture paints, decide what products you like and what you don't like, and I promise you will really, really love them. You see the way that the shimmer hits in different lights. And guys, thank you all so much for watching. I was so glad to be here with you all. See you next time, guys.